It's 5 years now since the first edition of From Poverty to Power was published. The new edition has been updated with the latest statistics, and it provides an analysis of the main global events that have shaped the last 5 years. Now, revisiting a book for a new edition can be daunting. You write a book and there's nowhere to hide when history moves on and destroys your carefully woven theories. But let's rewind a bit. What was From Poverty to Power actually for? It was a big undertaking. It was an attempt to come up with an NGO narrative on development involving 500 people in case studies and discussions and seminars. The book's main messages were that active citizenship and effective states are the driving forces of development. Aid and the international system can help or hinder, but they are essentially secondary. Then inequality. The unfair division of the cake requires us to think about redistribution, not just redistributing stuff, but redistributing power itself. How change happens. We need to get much better at understanding how things change if we are to improve in our efforts to influence it in a positive way. The book explored how to think about change through a number of case studies on everything from pond rights in India to the campaign for an international ban on landmines. So what's changed since the book was published 5 years ago? Well, for me as an author, the big change has been my blog, which allowed me to follow events since publication, talk to people, and provided handy first drafts of the new edition. As for the real world, we've seen 3 big traumatic shocks. First, the global financial crisis, and with it, a shift in the geopolitical centre of gravity away from the old powers to the BRICS. The food price spike, the end of an era of low and falling prices. The Arab Spring and an upsurge in citizens' movements. And a slow-motion train crash on climate change, which is now omnipresent in Oxfam's experience all over the world, whereas the book rather talked about it as a future threat. How have these events affected our understanding of development? We're much more aware these days of the impact of volatility, risk and vulnerability on the lives of poor people. That leads us both to a focus on building resilience and on trying to dampen or prevent these shocks in the first place. But happily, the core thesis of the book remains intact. First, active citizens and effective states. The Arab Spring shows what people's movements can achieve, but only if there are effective states for them to work with. Then inequality. Both the financial crisis and resource constraints make the focus on inequality even more acute, and we can even talk about redistribution these days without apologising like we used to. Finally, how change happens. This has become my overwhelming interest, and it's a big issue within Oxfam, but it's the subject of my next book.